Back to this microphone, I would appreciate it in the back or anywhere if you told me if you can hear me well or too well. Okay, good. Okay. We are going to start with a brief segment where Diane Windingland is going to talk to us about the trio.
You want to start with your slide? You have a slide.
So you have all been asked to read the book on Leading by Strength, where you have learned about the 4 areas that this model summarizes the different qualities and strengths a leader can have. And they are grouped under executing, influencing, relationship building, and strategic thinking. And today you're going to learn about the trio and what strengths they have.
Thank you, Elena. It's not really all about us. We'll just use ourselves as an example. First, by a show of hands, raise your hand if you have this book. It should be, everybody should have this book. Oh, you guys, oh, you got a different book?
They got Strength Finder.
Oh,
Yep.
I didn't know that. Okay, well, then this might be a little bit of a different talk because you probably then did not get the code in the back. Yes, there's a code in the back, and you got to find your top 5 strengths, correct? Yes. But what you might not have done is got to see where those fall in the matrix with the 4 domains of leadership, or did you? You did not. Okay, I did not know that. Next time, I'll know. Anyhow, as you look at your strengths, there are different places that those strengths lie. Was anyone surprised by where their strengths were, or was it like, oh, yeah, that makes sense? Anyone surprised? Yes, why were you surprised, Ben?
I was surprised because I never really thought about myself in those terms. But as I thought about it more, I could see how those terms actually did line up with the way I am.
Right, I know I was a little surprised, but not totally surprised. Now, okay, did anybody get this book other than me? Did the division directors get this book? How did you not get this book? Okay, anyhow, when you have your strengths, they will usually lie in one of these 4 areas, where executing is making things happen, influencing is causing things to happen through influencing others, selling ideas. Relationship building is making things happen through other people, through building relationships. And strategic thinking is planning ahead to make good decisions. And when you are working with leaders, they may have different strengths than you, and that's okay, because strengths can be complementary. I think if you have the remote, this was an example. So when we were looking at the 4 areas of executing, influencing, relationship building, and strategic thinking, we plotted out our top 5 strengths in each of those areas. And as you can see, that looking at us individually, Larry has strengths in his top 5. It's not that we don't have strengths in the other areas. In executing and relationship building. My strengths was mostly in influencing and a little in strategic thinking. Harold, a little in executing, a little influencing, and a lot in strategic thinking, which totally did not surprise me, especially for either of those 2. But then, when you look at all 3 of us together, do you see how we actually have a pretty good blend of strengths, with at least 3 things in each of those categories. So when you are looking at working with leaders, consider how their strengths may be complementary to your strengths. Because as you're using your strengths, you want to develop trust and compassion and things that people will connect with as you lead them. Who would like to share, if they have the book with them and know their top 5 strengths, what their top 5 strengths are? Dave?
My top 5 strengths, well, that's one.
responsibility, adaptability, relator, arranger, and connectedness. High five.
Thank you. I can certainly see the connectedness. It's always fun to learn about yourself, and so often as leaders, we look at our faults or our failings. But I think this is a great way to look at, so what is a strength, and how can I use my strength? Of course, you may want to work on areas that you aren't as strong in, but go with your strength. When people are focused on using their strengths, and this works for the people you work with too, they become much more engaged. I think I recall a statistic that when people are focused on using their strengths, they're 8 times more engaged than if they don't. So consider focusing on your strengths and focusing on your team's strengths as well. Back to you, Elena.
Now we're going to go to the next segment of the presentation, where I'm going to speak out of a 1-minute manager book called Increasing Effectiveness Through Situational Leadership. And the first thing I'm going to ask you is to close your eyes, and for 20 seconds, I'm going to ask you that you think about someone that you think is a great leader, and what characteristics they have, and why you admire them, and the impact that they have on you. Now, if I was to ask all of you what the characteristics are, you would all have very different answers. So why is that? Part of the answer is that different models focus on different characteristics that the leaders have that make them effective. Another answer, and that's the premise of the model that I'm going to present to you today, is that the leader has different characteristics depending on the situation. Their effectiveness, their style is adapted to the person that they deal with, the situation that they face, and therefore there is not one style that works. And to illustrate that point, we are going to do a little skit. Knowing that today what you're going to learn is different leadership styles. You're going to learn about when to use them, how to talk when you're using these different leadership styles. And we're going to develop a few myths, and then we're going to talk about how you can get the most out of people.
So we'll just keep this thing where it is.
If I need to, I can just turn it again.
I think it's a pretty good. I think it's going to be good. It's pretty much done. Piece of chocolate for you as well.
You're so cool. Elena, can you use the mic when you both talk?
I'm very happy to talk to you regarding our mentoring session. And right now, I would like to suggest something. Would you be interested in being the Toastmaster for the division contest?
That sounds really overwhelming. You know, I've never even been to a contest, right?
Yes, I know that. And at the same time, I think you're an overachiever. And I think that if I prepare you well, you're going to be awesome. And you're going to be the best Toastmaster of all the division contests that are going to take place this year. So, would you be interested?
Well, you can help me and give me some resources so that I don't go and make a fool of myself. You know, I've only been a Toastmaster for 3 months. And
How many speeches have you given so far?
I've given 3.
Ah, that's plenty. So here's the plan that I have. First, I'm gonna have a script. Right here, it has every single word you need to say. So you know already what you have to say. Second, what I suggest we do, we meet on Saturday, we go to the room where the contest is going to take place, and we do a fake contest. We play it out. For example, when I was a Toastmaster, the most difficult part for me was always like shaking hands, and we're going to practice with all the papers you need to shuffle around, the awards, the microphone, and handing it, and people coming on stage and walking off stage, all that good stuff. 3, I suggest that you go to the Western Division contest. They have an excellent Toastmaster, and you can learn from him. And then number 4, if you have more questions, YouTube, go on the internet, type contest, and you can watch contests. And if there's a part of the contest that you struggle with in particular, guess what? You can get to play and replay it 100,000 times until you have it down. And then we'll meet again. And then we'll see what other questions you may have. What do you think about my plan?
Well, it still sounds like a lot, but I'm willing to give it a shot, and it sounds like you're gonna provide me several resources to help me. I wasn't aware that I could watch on YouTube. I think that's another good resource for me to do in my spare time. And I will definitely be at the Western Division contest, so I can watch somebody else do it before we practice.
Fantastic. In the meantime, you can go home and you can start studying the script, and then we'll rehearse on Saturday. Thank you. Bye-bye. What do you think about my leadership style? Yeah? Well, what words would you use to describe it? Was I like hands-off? Encouraging, yeah?
Say, Elena, could you hand her the
Yeah, I'm
microphone
going
so
to
we can?
repeat that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, very good point. I did not ask him for a lot of input. I was getting called, and I just presented the opportunity. So what the point that we were going to drive across is that Pam is very excited. She's a new Toastmaster, she's in the honeymoon period, and I'm going to give her whatever assignment. She's probably going to say yes. She doesn't know what she's getting herself into, and that's fine. And I'm going to take advantage of that. And that's one of the points of my of this presentation, which is at the beginning when that is not very experienced and they're getting into something new, they'll say yes. Sometimes because they just don't know what they don't know. Their level of engagement is really high. And my role as a leader is to be really hands-on and very directive. So I have my plan laid out, just as you said, with all the different things we're going to do. I am really micromanaging this stuff. And I'm going to train her to best. I'm going to show her what words to say, how she's going to move on stage, how she's going to handle the microphone, the paper. I'm giving her everything, 100%. I'm raising her neck. I'm right there. And I'm setting her up for success. And she's not unfair. So very good for that. Any other input about what you see on my leadership style? Yes. Absolutely. And that is the premise of this model, which is this very directive style that I have. You don't ask for a lot of input. You tell people what to do. And there is a misconception sometimes that you always have to ask for input, you always have, And here what I was trying to play out is that part that works when you are working with more experienced people, when you have someone that's really junior, really starting to learn, you do not get a lot of their input. At this stage, they don't know what they don't know, and therefore, I don't ask a lot of questions. But very good for noticing it. This is exactly the point that we were going to bring across. And with that, we are now going to go to skip number 4. Hi, Pam, how are you?
Great, how are you?
Doing great. So, how has this last, how long has it been now since you have joined Toastmasters?
It's been a year.
Wow, a year. So now I have a new proposal for you. I think you're great at it, and that you would do an excellent job. And I think that's a golden opportunity. Would you want to be my contest chair for the division?
I would love to be your contest chair for the division. After you put me through contest boot camp 9 months ago, I realized how much I liked going to contests. I've taken several roles, and I'm really excited to chair at that level of contest.
So how many contests have you gone to?
I've gone to 15 this year.
Wow, so by now you know it all. Yeah, well, what I suggest I do, I'm going to send you the list of the different area directors with their email address, and then you can contact them directly and do your magic. And you know, if you need anything, you can contact me. But by the way, I'm going on vacation next week, so you know, you can just send me a couple of emails, and if anything comes up, I'm sure you'll find someone that will help you. So, how is your dog? When I emailed you and I thought you were talking about your baby, that you were talking about your dog.
You thought I said I had to feed my daughter before I could come to the contest, but I was saying I had to feed my dog. And so when I arrived, you asked me how my daughter was, and I was really confused. If you knew who I was, or what you were talking about.
Wow. Again, Pam, thank you so much for taking on this assignment. You're going to be wonderful, and in no time, you'll be a DTM. Thank you. So, in this speech, what do you think about Pam's level of engagement?
Pretty good.
High, right? She has attended all these contests, she's gung-ho, she knows, she's experienced, she has the knowledge. What do you think about my style?
Dedication.
Pretty laid back. What am I doing?
Delegating.
I am delegating, absolutely. And she's going to figure it all out. And then what is my role after I have delegated?
Just being available.
I'm available. She can email me. I'll be on vacation, but she can email me. And if she cannot reach me, you know, let's say I'm climbing a mountain or Machu Picchu or whatnot, I know she can ask questions to other people. I don't need to be involved. I don't need to be micromanaging. So again, in this model here, what we're trying to explain is that the directive behavior that was high at the first, in the first case, was due to the fact that she did not have a lot of experience, although she had some enthusiasm, and therefore I did not even need to support her a lot. So the level of support provided in this style doesn't need to be that high either. And now that she has the knowledge, I don't even need to tell her anything. Okay? So now we are going to demonstrate to you another situation. Hi, I'm the club president, and I'm going to meet with Pamela. And Pamela, she's the VP of membership. It's a different person. Hi, Pam, how are you?
I'm okay.
Well, you sound a little bit tired. What's going on?
I just have so much going on, a lot of things at work and you just moved and I just, you know, just a little stressed out.
Yeah, I understand that. How long have you been in Toastmasters by now?
About 15 months. Yeah.
Okay. Well, as you know, we still have 8 months to go until the end of the year. And we would like to be Distinguished Club again. Wouldn't that be exciting?
Yeah, it would be great for our club to be distinguished.
And so what I was thinking is that maybe you could put together a membership campaign. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not really even sure what you want me to put together or what the time commitment would look like. I just, you know, I'm so busy right now.
Yeah, I understand. So here, I have about 30 plus ideas on how to promote your club and gain more membership. This is an excellent document that was put together by the public relation officer a few years ago in the district. Her name is Diane Wingfield. And if you want to take a look at some of these ideas, do you think that there's something there that you would be interested in doing?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely things in here that have some value that could help our club.
And what do you think about involving the VP of PR? And maybe we can get a few members that want to finish their competent leadership manual and that would want to get, you know, one of the projects in the back end accomplished so that they can become competent leader. And maybe if we put a group together, then we can reach the 20 members that we need in order to be distinguished again. How about that?
Well, when you make it sound more like a committee instead of me having to do all of the coordination and a lot of the effort, I think we can make it work.
So when you look at this list here, like, do you remember when we did these three?
I do.
Weren't they fun?
They were fun, yeah.
Do you think you could do something similar, or maybe how about here at the bottom?
I think we could make that one work. I think that one would be good for our club.
Ah, well, how about if we meet again in 1 week with the different people that we have talked about, and then we start getting some traction on it. How about that?
Yeah, let's get a group together and make a plan next week.
Okay, thank you. So now, in this speak, what would you have to say about Pamela's level of engagement?
So-so. So-so.
So-so. She's a little bit hesitant. She's a little bit more someone to be pushing and being convincing, influencing, she needs a little bit more of energizing. What do you think about her level of development? Like, is she understanding what she's doing? What did she tell us about her experience at Toastmasters? Yeah, she's hesitant, but so she's been in Toastmasters for 15 months, and so what we know is that for some people, 15 months, they have already completed their competent leadership manual, and maybe they are already an advanced silver communicator. And some, they may be halfway through their first competent communicator manual, right? So what do you think about my leadership style in this kit?
Very supportive.
Supportive. Yes, still you can see the direction. Here's the list. We're going to pull these different people. Here's an idea. Okay, but what additional element did you see coming through?
Empathy. Empathy.
Empathy, yeah. In terms of my leadership style and my asking questions, what did you see a little bit different this time? Yeah, but also asking questions. So it's not as directed as the first one. There I was asking, okay, you know, there's a list of options. Is there one that you're interested in? Here's the plan that I have. What do you think about it? Can we meet next week? Where are you at? What's going on? Okay. So now let's go to the last skit. And then pay attention to what has changed from this situation to the next. Hi, Pam, how are you?
Doing good, how are you?
Well, I'm doing good, but hey, what a big change. Corporation has moved half of our members off-site. Tough, huh?
It is, it's a bummer. You know, I got to know a lot of our members so well, and I'm really gonna miss having some of them because they've already said they just can't make it back over to this location for our meetings.
Oh, that's too bad. And what I was thinking we could do is put together an action plan. I think that we still would want to be distinguished, right?
Absolutely, and we put a lot of effort into our membership drive.
And so we were distinguished like now 2 years in a row. Wouldn't that be fantastic if we did it again for the third time?
I would love to have it be 3 times in a row.
And then don't you think it would be like a good project to have when you interview, when you talk about your promotions, about how you were able to overcome this challenge?
I do, I think that would be a really great story to tell.
And so, are you okay accepting the challenge of putting together an action plan?
I am, I have a few ideas. Could we meet again next week after I think about it a little bit?
Yeah, do you still have the document that I shared with you from Diane?
I do, it's a great document.
Okay, well, Pam, thank you so much. And, you know, of course, I'm here. Anytime you need me, I can do any of the items that you would not want to do. And, you know, we can always pull people to help us. We don't have to do it all ourselves, right?
That's right.
Well, thank you very much. So here, what can you say about the last skit and what my leadership style was? And you can check the answers on the board. I was supportive. So there, I'm not so much sharing the knowledge. By now she has done it. You know, she just did a membership campaign not too long ago. She's already familiar with the different ways that you can do the job that she's trying to do. But what she needs is to make sure that, what I need to do as a leader is to make sure that I keep her motivated. It's a lot of work, it's a challenge, and in order to motivate her, I give her the choice of how to do things. I'm here to support her, but not to breathe in her neck. How did you think your level of enthusiasm was? At the beginning, maybe not that much, but then through the conversation and talking about becoming a distinguished club and overcoming challenges and, you know, being able to use these as a conversation when she's applying for a job or she's asking for a promotion. That is something that hopefully got her more excited. So, summary of the leadership styles. As the leadership style would be more directive when the person doesn't have that much experience. And again, as I talked about before, the enthusiasm may be there because the person is new. So if you remember the last job you started, the first few months, you did not know all the bad stuff about the job, the company, the colleagues, and everything was going to be difficult. So you were all in whole. At the time, what you needed from your leader maybe was, you know, tell me how to access the system. Tell me, do I need to put a backslash or a / in order to access the website where I need to do that task? You need to have some very specific information. And there, the reader may not have asked you a lot of questions. It was more telling you the how, not so much explaining the why. Then, as you progressed and got a little bit more comfortable with what you were doing, and you had discovered the bad colleagues, the difficult website, the difficult tools, the difficult this is the difficult that. And the role of your leader maybe became to be your coach. There, he wanted to involve you more, explain the why, to get you more engaged. And then he got you involved in making some of the decisions. Then as you progressed, you had more knowledge, you felt more confident, and maybe the motivation was not always there, although sometimes the motivation goes back up after the honeymoon period that is taking place initially. There's a little bit of a dip, and then you can go back up. And there, the role of your leader is to be cheering you, hence the virtual cheerleader view. And so the role there is to draw the information out of you and ask you the good questions and leverage what you have to bring, because you're going to do the task and you're going to do it in the way that works the best for you. And you know, like when you're hired to do a task, you volunteer for doing the task, the objective is to leverage what you have to bring. And then finally, the last style is where your boss can delegate things to you. So on a team, as a leader, when you look at the different people that you work with, the people that are very experienced, people that are very engaged, you're not going to spend a whole lot of time with them. They're the ones who are going to be there as their safety net if they have questions. But even when they come to you with questions, you can ask them back, oh, how would you do that? And then you can engage their brain, and then they can solve their own problems. You don't need to be very involved. So, how do you know what is the leadership style that you need to use when you interact with different people? What have we said?
Know that somebody is acting different leadership style than you, you're gonna have more intentional about working in their leadership style and going to work.
Yes, absolutely. So your point is that you have to adapt your style to the person that you're working with. So some of the dimensions that you can use to determine what is the leadership style that you're going to use is you're going to assess the competence level of the person that you're working with for the particular task that's at hand, and then also their level of engagement. So let's say someone works with me in Toastmaster. If they ask me to put a contest together, I have done it, and they're not going to have to direct me a whole lot. They can delegate the task to me, and I will put a contest together. If someone was to ask me to put a convention together, they would need to meet with me every day. I don't know how to do that. So you adapt your style to the level of competence for the particular task that is at hand, and also to the level of engagement. So here the quote is, you give different strokes to different folks, and you meet them where they are at. So you just ask a few questions, you understand if they're engaged or not, and then you adapt your style. How are you going to get the most out of people? What are the tips that you are using in order to get the most out of people? This is the part where you need to participate.
Find out what they're looking for, what their goals are.
Find out what they're looking for, what their goals are. Because if you have something that you can work into what they're looking for, then it's a very easy sell. Yeah, absolutely. What else do you use in order to convince the people and get the most out of them? So you can just ask them to participate and you can involve them. Yeah. What else?
If you're energetic and enthusiastic about what you want to do, you basically just got to sell your plan, sell your product to them that you want them to help you with. Either be supportive, coach them, but if you have to be engaged with them.
So you sell the point by being engaged, supportive, enthusiastic, energetic. Did I summarize your point? Yeah, very good. What else? How do you get people to participate? How do you engage them?
Understand what's important to them and emphasize what's in it for them.
Yes, understand what's important to them and then explain what's in it for them. Absolutely, when people see that there's something for them in it, they're going to be more willing to participate. So another learning from this leadership model is that you lead people, and it is something that you do with the people versus something that you do to people. And one way that you can engage the people is by having some agreement statements that can start your conversation. And those vary depending on the leadership style that you have. So for example, in the first very directive leadership style, what you explain to the person is, since you have not done this before, is it okay if I give you a lot of guidance, that we meet regularly, that I tell you the different steps that you have to go through in order to get this done? And you adjust the expectation of the person with yours so that you can set up a successful working relationship. Once the person has a little bit more knowledge, maybe the agreement statement can read a little bit different. It can be in terms of, since you're still learning, and I see you're a little bit discouraged, would it be okay if I continue to provide you with some guidance? But I would also like to hear your ideas. I want to engage your brain. I want you to put you in the project, and I want to leverage what you have to offer. Then the next agreement statement, once the person has a little bit more experience, is going to be more in terms of, okay, you know these, and my role maybe is going to be to listen to you, and I'm here for you. I am your safety net, but you can lead that, but I'll be there to catch you and to help you anytime you want. And then finally, the last leadership style is going to be, okay, you know these, you're enthusiastic, I'm here if you need me, bye, see you later, have fun, enjoy, develop, it's going great. How do you know if things are working? So this model is suggesting that you set SMART goals. And so who is familiar with what a SMART goal is? Raise your hand. I think pretty much everybody is familiar with that, so just reiterating it, it needs to be specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and there needs to be something about a time frame or how long it's going to take. And you can measure if things are going well in all the styles, making sure that the goals are being achieved. And even in the delegating style, you let the person do what they need to do, and you just look at, are things getting done? Are they getting done on time? And you don't need to intervene. That's it, that's how you know that things are getting done. So example of SMART goals for our clubs. What is the most known SMART goal that we know for our clubs? DCP. DCP, very easy set of goals. Some clubs adopt additional goals, or some clubs decide to not go with DCP goals. For example, Some clubs have as a goal that every new member needs to give their icebreaker within 4, 6, 8 weeks, whatever the case is. And individual members, they can set for themselves goals such as, I want to become a DTM in 2 years. Or some can say, I want to finish my competent communicator manual in a 1.5 years. Any goal is fine. Are there examples of excellent goals that you have heard where you say, wow, that was really brilliant? Yes.
For me, it was about deciding I wanted to pursue dream. I had just kind of achieved some things and felt sad to not die for the people and what's going to motivate me to keep growing and set a time frame when I can actually put a little bling on my shirt to say that I stuck with it, really having plugged into all of those things.
So Triple Crown, maybe by now everybody knows that it's 3 educational awards per year. And for example, HPL counts as one of these awards. So now, how do we get the most out of people? We can inspire them. We can be enthusiastic. Some leaders, for example, Colin Powell, which has an excellent series on how to engage people, has this thing about, just be positive. Even, if things are looking completely bleak, and stay positive. That's also, for example, what Winston Churchill used during war. They were going to be defeated. People could not eat, they were being attacked, bombed. The power of being enthusiastic. Catching people doing the right things, encouraging them, rewarding them. Another suggestion that I would have would be to use your strengths to understand how to talk to people, what you're going to rely on in order to impact people. Are you someone that is great at execution? Is that where you're coming from? Or are you someone that is great at building relationships? What are the strengths that you have that you can use in order to connect with people? And also understanding the strengths of the people that you're working with. So for example, in some corporations, a whole department will go through the Strengths Finder exercise so that people can communicate and speak the same language. So for example, I am a strategic person, and whenever I find a strategic person, I know how to communicate with that person. I speak their language, and it's so much easier. Or, okay, if they have an execution strength, then I use one of my execution strengths to communicate with them. So I know they are hearing me. They're speaking the same language, not trying to speak, from Chinese to Japanese. So earlier on, then, if you ask who already knew their strengths, like who knows in the room who their 5 strengths are, who has already done it? Okay, fantastic. So in the book that Diane was mentioning, not the one that you got.
Oops.
Strengths-based leadership. If you go to page 77, there is a model here. And I do not want to confuse you with the other model I was presenting today. But that tells you that people are going to listen to you when you're using 4 characteristics. One of them is trust. People need to trust you. Are you doing good on your word? If they know you're doing good on your word, they will listen to you. The second one is compassion. Sometimes leaders have a hard time showing their compassion, although they have it. Maybe culturally, it's not acceptable at times. But when people understand that you're really hearing what they have to say at a human level, it is a great way to connect with them, and they are going to be more likely to follow you. Because one definition of a leader is how many people are following you, right? Another characteristic that you can have to make sure that people listen to you and follow you is have some stability. And then finally, you need to give people hope. And I would encourage you to read these 15 pages starting on page 77. They are great. Okay, so now we are going to talk about some myths in leadership. Sometimes people believe that leaders are born leaders. And at Toastmasters, what we say is that leaders are developed, right? Isn't that our tagline?
Or leaders.
And you can develop any of the characteristics. You do have some strengths, and that's what you're going to focus on. For example, I have some strengths. Maybe one of them is I laugh. But like I'm 5'6", you're going to spend all the time and effort trying to develop me into being a basketball player and dunk. You can spend 50 years trying to do that. It's never going to happen. So instead in life, I'm going to use my assets, my strengths. I laugh. So the model is asking you to really leverage your strengths, knowing that whatever you're not good at, you may be able to tweak a little bit, but it's never going to be something that you're going to be awesome at. Sometimes people believe that in order to be a great leader, you need to do big stuff, and that's not true. Who has an example of someone that did a little stuff and that has really impacted your life? Yeah.
When I first joined Toastmasters, I didn't have a mentor. No one welcomed me into the club. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was interested in the club. And I ended up being the VP of Public Relations because no one else wanted to do it. And I thought, well, I'll go ahead and figure that out. And I had no idea what to do. And Shirley was very kind. She came, asked Area Governor. She took time. She explained to me what it was. So I'm going to say sincereness and really showing that you care about that person and their path. And that's mine.
Thank you. Any other example where someone did a little thing and it had a big impact on you? Come on.
Well, this one's about you because you are my mentor in real life. It wasn't just a skit. But as a new Toastmaster, and don't get it twisted, Elena was a little pushy at the beginning, but I was totally enthusiastic about it, so it was the right relationship. But she would encourage me to go to TLI. I really didn't know anybody, but the little thing she did that made me feel comfortable and confident about going was she always saved me a seat at her lunch table. It's one of the most uncomfortable times. Where am I going to sit? I don't know these people. And she'd be waving and welcoming me over from across the room, and she was my only friend there. And so for her to do that for me made it easier for me to network and to feel more confident.
Thank you, and I'll give you the $10. Anyone else? Yes.
Honestly, as a newer Toastmaster the first few years, I didn't really have an idea of what was going on. I certainly didn't see past the club. And it took my area governor last year, Cheryl here, to kind of open my eyes to that. She encouraged me to go to tallies, like you were stating, and to do other things. And then she kind of pushed me into this area director role. I made her talk me through it and everything like that, but it's been a huge change for me, and it's opened new opportunities, and I can't thank you enough for that encouragement. So.
Anyone else? Yes.
Well, kind of on the same lines. I've been kind of a go-getter all the time, and I jump in and I just do things. But Eric, he's been kind of takes the reins and says, you can do this. I would have never really stepped up to being an area director if it wasn't for Eric telling me I can do it, and all of the other things. He's always been there pushing me along. So he's really kind of the guy behind the scenes that's made me who I am.
Okay, finally, the last myth is that the bosses are the leaders. In Toastmasters, we are asked to think about the inverse pyramid, where our role is to serve others. The 4 leadership styles that I have shown earlier are about to really serve the person that you're leading and meeting them at the place that they need you. And it's about adopting the leadership style that they need for their own development. HPL, we already talked about it. If you go through these, if you go out for this award, there are 6 areas that the HPL will allow you to evaluate at the beginning of the project and then at the end of the project. And then you will learn more about yourselves. And those 6 areas are, how do you do in terms of establishing vision and values? How do you do in terms of establishing a direction? How are you a persuasive leader? How are you providing support? How are you in terms of developing people? And how are you in terms of appreciating people? So different models, different focuses, HPL very valuable. And we'll have a few minutes for a few questions. Who would like to ask questions about leadership? And because we're a little bit ahead of schedule, you can also soon ask questions about other things that would interest you. And we can provide answers to. Yes.
What are your suggestions for easily identifying the strengths in others that haven't done strength finding?
So I'm going to give you my suggestion, and if other people want to think about others, I will pass them the microphone to complete what I say. I would say one of the things that you can do is you can ask the person. Different people have different levels of self-awareness. By just asking the question to someone and getting them thinking about what they're good at and how they operate, just right that is of great value to the person. And they may or may not provide you an accurate view of how they really function and what their true strengths are. But I would say that it would be a good start. Anybody wants to complete the answer?
Elena?
Yes.
Nothing beats having a conversation with the person. You can assess someone's competence very easily in many areas by simply asking them a few questions. Tell me about your Toastmaster journey so far. Tell me about your experience. What have been some highlights? What have been some challenges? And you will be able to assess some of that just through conversation. And if you need to know technical competence, which know how they used a computer, you can ask, well, tell about your experience with using computers. Are you comfortable with submitting forms online? And find out about that. And their tone of voice will tell you a lot about enthusiasm. That is something that's very hard to determine through email, isn't it? The level of enthusiasm. So a conversation is a great place to start. asking questions also will help, and really listening to their answers so that you can follow up with additional questions or comments. What other question would you have? Yes.
Hi, what would you do when you have someone that has a really intense, strong strength, such as, let's say, talking enthusiastically, and it's running your meeting at your club? How do you help them balance so everyone has an opportunity?
It's a very good question. I'm going to ask if there's a volunteer to answer that question. I can imagine that we have all encountered a situation before. It's your opportunity.
I think the answer to that is you have to deal with people one-on-one, out of the public eye. You need to go talk to them, take this person, set them off aside somewhere, talk to them, ask them to sort of cut the stuff down at the level of activity. Down so everybody else has an opportunity to engage what it is you're engaging. I think that's the way you try to, basically what you're saying is, how do you deal with somebody who's basically trying to monopolize things? Yes, it's a strength, but at the same token, you don't want them to monopolize things. So you ask them to, can you hold the level of activity down a little bit so to let other people have an opportunity? That's what I would do.
Thank you. Marty, I saw you raising your hand.
An alternative method is to do it during the meeting. So general evaluators should be empowered to implement continuous improvement. And there's improvement that can be made there in a positive and supportive experience for that individual. And the second one is if they don't do it, many clubs have a for the good of the club section at the very end. This would be another opportunity, again, as long as it's positive and supportive.
Thank you.
I would try and maybe turn that into an opportunity as well. Encourage them maybe to notice that you're very comfortable communicating with the club. Can you provide some skills and resources to a newer member or somebody who's maybe shyer, and then really take that opportunity to mentor them by forcing them, I shouldn't say forcing them, by encouraging them to take on that role. Then they'll have to listen more and be thinking about somebody else's participation beyond just their own.
I'd like for you to address in two more other ways. One is by people talking to that person's mentor, if the person has a mentor. The other way I have seen it address it through moments of truth that we are promoting. Oh, and I have Diane who has another suggestion.
Boy, if anyone watched this video, it's going to be pretty fun.
Well, this is just a very simple suggestion, is blame the agenda. Usually the Toastmaster, the person that's in control of the meeting, can interrupt someone who's being long-winded and say, excuse me, we appreciate your comments, but we really need to stick to our agenda now. We can take this outside of the meeting or talk about it later. And, or just, it depends on what they're saying, but essentially you blame the agenda, say, we really need to keep on track so that we can all get out of here on time. Thank you.
One last question on leadership styles.
Oh, I was going to give one.
Yes,
on
go
the
ahead.
talker.
As someone who could be accused of being a talker, perhaps that person needs something else to do to keep them busy. Perhaps if they are the odd counter or the grammarian or the timer, they would be too busy to talk. Or they should be the secretary taking notes.
Another question on leadership styles?
My question is, how do you handle an individual who likes to explain everybody's role, whereby it's done before you start the meeting, and then when it comes time for the individuals who have the roles, don't know what to say because it was already set? How do you change that process?
Who would like to take a shot at it? Who has a good suggestion? Yes.
During a meeting, typically, we've always had the person who's doing the role, so if they're the timer or the odd counter, they explain their role. So the Toastmaster doesn't need to explain the rules because they call up the other person that's performing the role to explain their roles. So then you shouldn't have that conflict of interest.
Done before the meeting or at the beginning of the meeting? How do you switch that?
Well, okay, so we have done it in our meeting 2 different ways. So we used to have it in the beginning until our club got so big that we had to work our agenda. But the Toastmaster would call up all the evaluators to describe what they were going to be doing during the meeting. So it wasn't the Toastmaster, it was the individual people doing the specific role. Now, because our club is so large and we have a limited time frame to get everything done, they perform their roles, and then when they go up to give their reports, they explain what they did, and then give their report.
Last answer, and we'll move on to the question.
One of the things that we did in my home club over the last couple of years is be very transparent as a leadership team about things that we identified or changes that we wanted to make. We made some changes to like the structure of our agenda, and our general evaluator as the person who held together the entire evaluation team. And as we introduced these changes one by one, it was with, here's a demonstration, here's an explanation, here's the expectation, here's what we think is going to benefit, and we'll want some feedback after a trial period. So by the time you're transparent and everybody is hearing the same set of rules for your club's culture, everybody's kind of on board. And if this one person's not on board, they're getting the look, they're getting the notice. And it's an opportunity to say, hey, for the most part, it's working. We still have some learning to do. All of us are still catching up.
Another question on leadership styles? You have no questions? What have you struggled with? No question you would want to pose to the audience?
Right there.
It seems that my biggest problem is actually getting the other members of my club, the leaders of my club, to come to the leadership meetings that I'm having. And I'm not sure what would be a good motivator for that, if I know what the problem would be.
Who wants to take that one?
There's 2 hands.
I think there's a couple of things that help get people encouraged to attend those meetings. One is you send out an agenda a week ahead of time with the things that you were planning to discuss, and then give them the opportunity to fill in the agenda with the things that they're planning to discuss, making sure that each officer has a clearly defined place on the agenda to talk about their role and what's going on. And I think if you do that, then people have the idea in their head that there is something important to be discussing, and that they better show up for it. If you just say it's a standing meeting and don't have that sort of pre-work going on ahead of time, a lot of people think, well, there's not really anything of importance that's going to happen here, so I can miss this. If you give people that incentive or that buy-in engagement, I think they're more likely to show up. Maybe you're doing that already, but that's just what I know that's worked.
So what we do in our club is every month, like take 15 minutes or whatever, and that's our office meeting. I talk about what's going on in the district. Everybody kind of talks about how things are going, try to support each other, that type of thing. So we're supposed to do that.
Thank you for sharing. Yes, that was another way to do it. Any other?
That was actually something I dealt with as club president last year, and the initiative I took was, I sat down with each member individually. You're not coming to the thing, why, what can we do differently to make you, we want you here, we want your participation, we want your input. The club asked you to take this role. I need you to be a leader in this role, what can we do? That one-on-one conversation really seemed to help quite a bit. It engaged them, we're talking about the leadership today, using some of that to just bring them in, make sure that they feel a part of the whole thing and that they know that they're gonna have an impact on the future of the club. Something like that might help.
And that was our last question. We are now going to conclude, and I'm going to invite you to think about the leadership model that I presented to you, the situational leadership style that you can adapt based on the people and the situation that you're facing. I'm going to invite you to leverage Strengths Finder in the other book that someone has in your hand. I'm going to invite you to behave like a leader. And then I'm going to remind you that you can have a significant impact with big things, but sometimes also with just little things. And then I want to thank you for everything that you do for Toastmasters. Have a great day.
Thank you, Elena. Now I hope that you feel more empowered to consider how you might change your leadership to meet the situation and people that you work with. You're going to have lunch here in just a little bit, and I want you to enjoy lunch and to enjoy talking with each other. And I suggested a couple of focuses on the agenda that you could talk about your area success plans, and that you can also talk about your upcoming club officer training and divisional TLIs. Enjoy lunch and enjoy chatting with each other. 1:15, you will have the train to trainer session.